Good. I think so. You're going to second thought. Yes. But I think primary motion. Yes. Motion that is. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Public Improvements and Infrastructure Committee to order. Notice the meeting was properly posted on Friday, May the 22nd. Roll call. All three districts are represented in the BOCC room. Item 1, discuss possible action, set date, time, and place in the event of technical difficulties. Is there a motion? Seeing none. Item 2 is discussion possible action to approve the minutes of Monday, May 11th.
I'll move to approve.
Second. The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3, discussion, review, and possible action regarding Verizon placing a node pole on county property to assist with the development of Verizon Microsoft network in downtown OKC. Mr. Monroe.
Nothing on that one. I need to communicate with the Verizon representative.
Are you playing phone tag?
Yeah, he's tried to call back a time or two, so they're very, very interested.
Right. That very brief no action update.
That's a 5G tower, right?
No.
I don't know.
Is there a motion to receive the update?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4, discussion of the possible action regarding operational status of the elevators in the county courthouse and the county head. Mr. Monroe.
I wish they were all working today. They're not. We have 2 down in the courthouse, 1 down in this building. So they should get it straightened out, have some kind of estimate of time and cost later mid-morning. I hope.
Thank you for that. Is there a motion to receive these updates?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5, discussion of the possible action to discuss landscaping improvements surrounding the county courthouse, county cannon building.
Brought a spreadsheet I would like to submit. I'll move that we receive it. Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Take a look at that before you pass it on down there.
There's a motion and second to receive the document. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Charles, take it away.
I just adapted this from what Amy's put together as far as the cost on the project. It was $100,000 in the capital projects budget. The $64,946 over there in the current budget is what was approved by the BOCC. I'm at the top of it there. And then going down, I have either the specific vendor or the project that down where there are figures there were all things that were pretty much included in the what the BOCC had approved before to go ahead and move forward to get done. And then there's some additional scopes down below there as well. And so the purchases to date shows the different vendors and what we've spent to date or have committed to date. And I put a detail on the second page, as this is kind of where we drilled down last time. On Terrascapes was the bidder that got the landscaping. So I've got the original bid listed there, and then the change orders and the supplemental plans are broken down into details off of one page. First page is the change orders. The second page is the additional plans. And the difference being the supplemental plans were for like the original scope of their project. If we added, when they came in and put them in, we saw there was a bare spot or we needed some more, they recommended more. The change orders are things that were really out of scope of the original bid, which was adding some decomposed granite in the alley to shore that up, and then adding flowers that OSU had planned on doing before because of the COVID, it kind of knocked them and their master gardeners out of moving forward with that. So to me, it's real self-explanatory because I put it together, but any questions, please, or clarification, I'd be happy to answer. And I brought the original I mean, we've received all these documents in before, but I brought the original proposal, the map, different things too, if anyone wants to refer to that. And then before we move on from this, we'd like to look at the second and third column where I've got proposed and then pending estimates on, just to kind of talk about those while we're drilling down on this stuff right now.
Where did you put decomposed granite in the alley?
It's on the north side of the fence, the ornamental, I don't know if it's iron or not, but the metal fence that goes, you know, on both sides of the courthouse, east and west. There's a little area there that the yard kept on, the lawn rather, the turf kept on coming into the alley. And so the original plan had decomposed granite to kind of shore up an area on Hudson where it was just kind of a weedy, grassy area. So we continued that on around on the west side and brought it all the way up to the courthouse building, and then continued on the other side behind that bench area on the east side as well. And yeah, that was not in the original scope.
And it looks like there were watering supplies produced.
Yeah, at Home Depot, I got some hoses and a reel for the watering the plants out there to tap into that water line that's out there in the sidewalk. And then I bought some flowers to go around in the west courtyard around Lady Liberty and in those square patches.
We're going to water the investments made on the north side.
Yeah, yeah, the watering supplies were.
Today, they're all looking. It look like they're dying, getting close to.
In front? Yeah.
You're watering?
I've seen them. In fact, I think when I came in Friday, it was so humid, I could see the water was still, you know, you could look at the shading on the mulch.
It may be an issue of sunlight. I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
So, numbers are not my thing. So up here it says capital projects regular, 2010, $100,000. Then out to the right of that, current budget, 64. Then total project, 81,863. That would be with the proposed 22,000, correct?
Yeah, and I guess the numbers are, you know, the 64,946 is what was approved to complete this project. And so to date, we've purchased or is in the process the 59,124 down there. So like that, the first column says purchases to date, that total down there. So that's kind of where we are on the current project. I just got this number, so I went and plugged it in, but I haven't had anyone else review it. But to completely level and seal both courtyards with a injection product that will raise and make it a, you know, no trip and falls and everything, and then completely seal with a lifetime guarantee. That's the number. So I guess that would be kind of like the worst case scenario. We wanted to do both courtyards. I haven't gotten any other bids on it, but I just put in there for reference. I knew we're going to be having this meeting today. I do have some updated information on the rope lighting. If we want to go with the multicolor, it's going, the rope lighting is probably about $5,000. It's about $3,500 if we don't do the multicolor, and that's restoring what was, you know, already there on all that rope lighting. That's not installed though, so. So just trying to fit some different things in here that I think would do the entire, you know, being directed to come up with some options for lighting, as well as getting Lady Liberty, her base, shored up.
So Charles, help me out here. Did we approve $100,000 to be spent on this project?
$100,000 is in this budget right here that I think's been rolled forward for a while. Anyway, so that's where the 100,000's from, the original direction in the capital projects. And then the short 65,000 is what was actually approved this year to move forward in.
Okay, so we approved a budget of 65,000.
Yeah, and that was what that we all looked at and, yeah, approved.
So anything above and beyond that, we're going to need further approval of.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to get above that amount to complete everything that was in what this document included to try to get done and produce. I think we're going to be just right at, just a short 60,000, so about $5,000 below budget, if you will, which is good because these other things that they'll need that money for sure. Yeah.
This project's a little different than a lot of them we do in the fact that everything is below 50,000. So everything's a purchase order contract, which is basically your lowest level of the contract that we do in this organization. And purchase order things come across the BOCC as claims. That's how they approve them. First they approve a budget. They approved $100,000 at some point for this project. And then steps going out as purchase orders and being approved in the claims. However, we do need to keep a watch on this because change orders are still limited to 15%, which he's not over a true change order. Some of these things are simple overruns of existing contract prices, which does not have any limit other than your budgetary limit. So you got to keep your change orders, your overruns separate, but track them and watch them.
So the change order for Terrascapes, for instance, is the $4,600, basically.
Yes.
In what you were just describing to us as cost overruns versus a change order, what is the supplemental plan?
That's your just cost overruns of items that were in the original contract. You bought more plants than you started out with. So you got a competitively bid price on them, so they're simple overruns. They don't count against your 15%, in other words. You do
So I
have
bid one and I buy 100, it doesn't matter.
against your 15%, it matters against your budget.
So we have $35,000 left. So we would, to kind of where Miles was, if we want to do the level and steel, we would need to make a recommendation on.
Right, and I think we actually have 40,000 left. I don't see it going much above that. I don't have the complete hard number on the benches, but like he said, we're within just, I think, a couple $100 probably on the benches. So again, just to round things off, I'd say we're going to be at about 60,000 there. So we're going to have about 40,000 to do this additional stuff. And yeah, that's all stuff that was out of the original scope. So I would be bringing it back to you and say, hey, this, would want this board to recommend to move forward to the BOCC to do additional things on the lighting or the leveling. I don't think that shoring up the Lady Liberty base is going to be a high ticket item at all. Stacy, because of the way these are with the purchase orders, is there any additional action required to properly pay these right here? The change orders or the cost overruns?
No, I mean,
Okay.
you're within the
Okay.
statutory requirement.
Okay.
You can go ahead and make the payments.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling here to find, I see one Spartan juniper.
Then that was an addition. That was like whenever they placed them out with the windows sequence and everything, we were short one or something like that.
Then it says removal of 5.
Okay, you're on the additional plants. Yeah, the ice junipers. Those were, I believe, in the bid to go around there's 2 triangle areas on Park Avenue, and one had ice flowers, ice junipers, and the other one didn't. So I think they had added them, but it's not really something that you want at your feet when you're sitting at a bench, so they deducted that from the work. And yeah, it says, and leave existing crepe myrtles. There's crepe myrtles in both those places right there. I'll show you on the map what I'm talking about. Those 2 areas right down there, right there on Park Avenue.
Motion to receive report.
I'll second.
That's all you want?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Was there any additional information? From our last meeting, this is what made the most sense to me as far as to bring to try to clarify everything.
Okay, so at the time that you have the 3 items that listed as pending, what's the item that's listed as proposed, or come back and ask about the additional?
Yeah. I think the only thing,
40,000.
yeah, I mean, the Liberty base, I think, is going to be a hundreds of dollars thing, not a thousands of dollar thing. If y'all are good with that, I'd probably just go ahead and move forward with getting that done.
No, I'm not good with.
Okay. Yeah, just bring it all back. Okay.
I don't know if Miles wants to do that.
No, it already wound up with you. Junipers.
And, no more review for it then.
Okay, so there's a motion to receive the report. Thank you, Charles. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you for that. 6, discussion of any possible action regarding an update on capital project specific tip number 2, that would be the annex roof replacement, security enhancement, and the ninth floor of the courthouse.
The roof is about 70%, making good progress until this week. It looks like we might lose the whole week, according to the weather forecast. And in the security projects, we're trying to find a date to have the demonstrations. And ninth floor, Keith.
Waiting on a contractor up there, met with David Prater in Harvard last week about some specific things they want done. And we're aware of progress. We don't have a timeline. Things have been kind of up in the air here, but waiting on taking bid and door installation at this point.
What kind of things are they wanting done?
It was just reconfiguration of a few little things, talking about where we needed security, access, what doors need to go where. what door openings needed to be covered up, just small things like that.
Anything else? Motion received.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6. Item 7, apologize. Discuss and do possible action regarding the capital improvements list.
No changes.
Nothing we need to discuss. No action on item 7 appears necessary. Item 8, discussion and do possible action regarding tentative 8 budget.
No changes, but I do have some documents from MIS that I'm going through right now, trying to work out a report that we can get off of Munis. It's not ready yet, but got the first draft of it.
Let's receive that update on the status of detailed information for budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 9, discussion and do possible action regarding ongoing space utilization in the annex.
Jim Carpenter's back on DA Civil. He's working on the conference rooms there. The last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been building sneeze guards. So we're not going to make a June 1st. We'll reestablish some completion date. I'm not sure what that will be. The hard part's over with. We just need to finish.
So with the roof 70% complete, have we gone up and started looking at, I guess we're waiting on fire retardation to be sprayed on the underneath side before you can start going in?
We're waiting on retardation. The replacement and repair of the roof deck in those locations where it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Then it will be fireproofing installation. Then the plastic can come down. We'll see just what damage we have to contend with.
Okay. So we need completion to do that stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Motion receive that update.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
10, discussion and do possible action regarding annex temporary 6th floor relocation, the annex roof drains, and the annex decking.
Which it seems like we can do that.
We could perhaps just combine 9 and 10. All right, so
You want to strike 10 going forward?
yeah, and Stacy, if there's something specific to that, you can just place it back on. I think that's a good idea. So I'll make motion to strike 10.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
11, discussion and do possible action regarding the degradation of county roads.
Found out that was on their last agenda, but I believe the action was to authorize the secretary to negotiate a agreement with us. So they didn't pass the one we sent over.
I thought we were negotiating. Okay.
So that, I mean, that's how I understood the agenda item and the action to be. That's why they just didn't send back the document that we'd already approved. I think you're going to get a phone call to further negotiate that document.
Okay.
My anticipation.
All right, Stacy, appreciate that. Is there a motion to receive that update?
Also move.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
12, discussion and do possible action regarding XXX stabilization.
FEMA is actively reviewing our application. They've had 3 RFIs in the last 10 days. We've answered them all. So the good news is they are reviewing it, which puts us one step closer to being able to buy right away. I don't know how long their review is going to take, but I'm happy they are reviewing.
Receive report.
A second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
13, discussion and do possible action regarding health and safety inspection at the Oklahoma County Jail. I've moved to strike this item and place it back on. Okay, there's a motion to second strike, all in favor?
Aye.
14, discussion and possible action regarding mold remediation project, fire alarm, HVAC system repair, and maintenance staffing plan, County Jail?
As far as the HVAC components, they're in stock in Oklahoma City, or they've been received in Oklahoma City, and installation should begin in June. So we'll have that complete HVAC system and the ventilation system in place and operating, I'm hoping, in June.
So with our fire alarm, fire system, is the new pump installed?
Yes, the new fire pump is there, and that's a new item on here, is the fire alarm. John Dennis determined that fire pump is not hooked up to the fire alarm panel, and it's not hooked up to the generator either. So there's new work we're going to have to do.
Mr. Monroe looks stunned at that
Yeah.
revelation.
Got that from John the other day.
Yeah, I'm sure, but that should have been included in.
I didn't have time to put it in the packet.
Keith, you're bewildered. Can you help shed some light as to what you're thinking?
On your bewilderment?
Other than somebody somewhere,
Are you suggesting this should have been part of the contract of installation?
Yes. That fire pump should be connected to the alarm, any monitoring device. When that pump deploys, when it's caused to deploy, the fire alarm immediately sends a signal to the fire department, who dispatches crews to come and see what's going on. I'll get to the bottom of this one.
Yeah, all we were told is that the fire pump, the old one, didn't pass its inspection. We ordered a new fire pump and we installed it. And now we're finding out that there's more work to be done, above and beyond the scope of what we've already done.
and the we is who installed? Who's the we?
Fire Patrol, I believe, installed the new pump. They purchased and installed it. We bought that off state contract.
What do they do for a business?
They're a fire protection business company, yeah.
So it wasn't like Joe Blow's Plumbing, that somebody that has an understanding of how these systems work.
Yeah, they have an understanding of how the system works. So when they failed the old fire pump, this information was not made available that this needed to be done at that time.
Is the old fire pump hooked in? Yeah. Properly?
Reading between lines of this email, I'd say it was into the fire alarm, but I don't see that it was into the generator. But I don't know that for a fact.
If it was into the fire alarm, why isn't the new one when they just hooked it back up? When they did it install?
I don't know, we need to ask John Dennis that question. He's the one that actually assisted them in this work.
When was this work completed?
Just about 2 weeks ago.
Is this one where you're holding off the project being final, or has it been final?
We have not finalized it.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Anything else, Stacy, on this item?
No.
So you'll follow up with Keith and John and Fire Patrol, and we'll get this figured out.
Yeah, that's why I brought it to the group. We're gonna add it to the list, and we're gonna have to get some funding for it and get it done. I don't have I've asked how much the price is, but I haven't gotten a figure back yet. So I don't know the magnitude of the cost.
What do you mean you don't know the magnitude of the cost?
Well, I don't know how much it's gonna cost to run the wiring and conduits and so forth to tie into the alarm and the generator.
Was the previous pump, as you previously stated, hooked into the fire alarm? So those things.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm just trying to read it between the lines of the email.
As he was exiting the room when that question was first raised, I heard Mr. Monroe indicate yes. Now, whether it was the generator and the monitor, or one or the other. I'm not clear. There's Mr. Monroe, some clarification.
Question now.
If it was previously hooked into the fire alarm, as you exited, we heard yes, but you also had a phone.
The fire pump, the fire alarm, and the fire department all work together.
Previously.
They all work together. So if it is not wired in or operating as it should now, we'll need to take whatever action to make it so. I'll get to the bottom of why it wasn't wired in or it isn't wired in or whatever.
Thank you, Keith.
Sounds great.
Motion received.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 15, discussion due and possible action regarding Wilshire Boulevard. Anything new there, Stacy?
No.
No action. Citizens participation, anyone? Or comments, Charles?
No.
Any new business? Or motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's 1 second, we'll go to the
You can pass that down to her if you want to keep that copy. You want to copy it all?
I did not.
Got it on the, I think you sent it to me electronically.
Okay.
Log into it yet either.
I've manipulated it to make sense for their purposes here, so I'll email you. Sorry.
Does it matter that there's not a join?
Correct.
Huh?
Correct.
Correct one.
Yes, that's fine.
Yes, that's fine. It doesn't say join.
I'm on the page, but it doesn't mean I'm joining,
Yep,
right?
you're
I'm
good.
there? Okay, good.
It's not on. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a different agenda.
Oh.
you go out, just go out to the county's homepage and go to the agendas, you can pull it up that way. That's what I did.
Yes, I have my agenda here. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm good.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting of the Public Buildings Advisory Committee to order. Notice meeting was properly posted Friday, May the 22nd. All three offices are represented. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes of May the 11th.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
2 is to set a date, time, and place. This meeting would reconvene in the event of technical difficulties. We're all here, you guys. We can always come back to 2.
Yeah.
3, discuss possible action for the Office of Emergency Management's continued and potential expanded use of the Kraus Shop building. updates here?
We've selected some architects to interview. Chantel's setting those interviews up, here in the next few weeks.
Is that because of why?
We are well over the statutory cost amount. It requires architect number one,
Which is what? What's that cost?
$158,000.
Stacy, are there items, the reason we may have to go that way and pay for an architect on this project is because we've been unable to procure providers in specific trade areas, correct?
Right. If we're our own general contractor, which we do these projects sometimes, and we just hire all the subs individually, that's a way to do the project, and that's the way you start it. But our inability to get those vendors right now is why you want to package it up.
Are any of those services available individually via state contract that we might be able to access and move this thing along?
Just the roofing, you can always buy that off-state contract, but I think you got an HVAC system issue just like you did at the Lincoln building that's going to require some coordination there. So I think I don't know how much that helps us too.
Construction services in general, construction, I think, can be had at OMBS. Their mechanical program they disassemble. I don't know what other trades they've gotten rid of, but I would assume electrical and anything heavy with mechanical as well. So what we would be doing is paying OMBS to GC our contract.
50%, yeah. That's what I thought. Okay, all right. Is there a motion to receive the update on item number 3?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4, discussion of the possible action related to the investor capital building, exterior building envelope project.
The Downtown Design Review Committee met last week and unanimously approved the design presented by TAP Architecture, and we're very pleased to see that we could potentially move forward with that. We're ready to go out to bid, I believe, is the next step.
Demolition costs are a part of that package, correct?
Yes.
Are we going to get that far to getting out the bid and actually getting a contractor before we have more?
Before the demolition takes care of itself?
Yes, sir.
I hope so.
There's an area, I think, just as you're about to enter the door, there where the marble or the facade has broken. Can we just go ahead and yank that piece out at least?
Have you ever played late night Jenga? We'll do what we can, but, I think when we start taking bits and pieces apart, we'll hasten.
Well, I think it's completely separated, if I recall.
Okay. We can have somebody look at it, see whether or not there. How long will it take to go to bid?
Standard 45 days around, put it together, sent out, when they just published it, and reviewed it. I think that's all.
Tell me how long.
45 days.
Right.
We'll see if we can't get somebody to start pulling those portions that are loose down. But my fear is once you begin, obviously, to deconstruct what's there.
Right, I'm not asking you to begin to take them off where they're still attached, but I thought this was there were 1 or 2 areas where there was some.
We've taken some of those things down, but this is another case where when you start this project, it might be that you take it all on.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Keith, thank you. Chantel, thank you.
Motion to receive report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 5, discussion of the possible action related to the repair and replacement of the roof and the HVAC at the election board ACOG building.
Roofing materials have been staged in the south parking lot of ACOG. Photos are always fun, show and tell.
Receive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roofing replacement will not begin or continue when the percentage chance for rain or weather is greater than 30%. So my guess is you won't be seeing anything happen out there.
The motion to receive, please.
I move.
Second here, all in favor?
Aye.
6, discussion of possible action. To receive an update from the Director of Facilities Management on properties and projects under the PBA.
Metro 1 and 2 are both underutilized at this point, except by the homeless population. Lincoln, we've talked a little bit about the roof and HVAC. The ICB, its exterior is going on as we discussed. Last time we had talked about, well, back up, I'm sorry. Kraus, the sheriff, has developed a list of things to be addressed, which is perhaps a little more than what we had anticipated earlier. I have a copy of what we've been quoted thus far, and also communication from David Baisden last November.
Motion received.
I'll second.
Also, a little handout
All in favor?
Aye.
that details those things that need to be, that they wish to be accomplished prior to moving in.
Motion to receive.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Labor to paint is almost $38,000 with material at $8,000. Drywall and reconstruction approximates $2,300. There is an area in the kitchen that they're asking the floor to be addressed where it's buckling a little bit. That's $5,000. Total asked for that we've priced right at $53,000. Below requested items that I do not have pricing for: signage on the building, repair of a commercial refrigerator in the kitchen, installation of an evidence testing vessel, reconfiguration of office cubicles, HVAC for the basement, and paint for the basement. And I would like this body to recommend what items we do. We had talked previously on a number of occasions about ADA compliance regarding an elevator from the first floor to the basement, and also, if need be, an elevator from the first floor to the second floor. The backup generator, we have a firm price on it. It's right at $150,000 installed.
Mr. Honeycutt is here. I'd like to give him an opportunity to.
I don't know that I've seen the document that he provided you to insinuate that some list was brand new in its creation. I don't know that is accurate. The document appears to be dated in November of 2019. The wants or asks or needs is not new information that certainly would have delayed any activity on that building for 3 weeks. Sorry. You know, we think it makes the most sense to paint that facility prior in time to any movement going in. Mr. Monroe and I had a couple of conversations where he has asked me to limit the amount of offices to be painted initially. I don't understand. I understand there's a cost associated with moving a tenant into this building, but this would be a cost absorbed by this county, no matter who occupied that space. And we're paying full market value, $26,000 this month. 26, we can't even get in there to start conducting operations. So is it expensive to repair the walls? Maybe. You'd have to do that for anyone to get in that building. So I'd like to see some help getting some progress on this building. You know, Keith indicated that the painters would be able to begin this week. I don't know what that means, the weekends on Sunday. So we have set up a meeting with our projected moving company to begin that move June 15th. It's a 4-day project, so it'll be June 15th through the 18th. That's a Monday to Thursday. You know, at this point, the carpets haven't even been cleaned. The floor is buckled pretty severely in that kitchen, and it does need to be addressed. So, does everything need to happen all at once? Probably not. But the things that make an office building acceptable to be moved in, such as the minimum thing of cleaning and painting, I didn't anticipate that this would be as difficult as fast as it is becoming. So any help that this body could provide in recommending that these projects get moved forward, appreciate it. If that means we can only paint the front hallway that runs north-south, great. Mr. Monroe talked about some signage on the front. I guess when the wildlife was there, they put on the building 2145 as the address, and it's actually 2101. So that might be helpful to get that corrected. So,
Center signage, you just want to correct the address, is what you're saying, right?
correct.
Yeah.
And we technically just need to replace 2 of the numbers.
Right.
There are 3 addresses associated with that property.
Yeah.
Correct.
So which one's correct?
All of them.
So the 2145 that's currently on that actually goes to the laundry. If you were to address something to the 2145, that's where it would go. 2101 Northeast 36. We've been in communication with the post office, and that's what. And Google says the more we start utilizing that, it'll help their algorithms.
What's the deal with the paint? Sorry. When wildlife moved out, we painted it when wildlife moved in.
When we engaged the wildlife department, there were costs set up to cover painting, reconfiguring, flooring, those kinds of things. Those specifics that they wanted that were provided for over and paid for over and above the base lease rate. When those costs were recovered, then the rental rate went down to the base figure, $13.
$13.50.
Yes.
Yeah.
The full final.
Yeah. And those investments included the carpet and some reconfiguration.
They included carpeting, vinyl flooring, reconfiguration of some of the bathrooms, reconfiguration of some of the office spaces, and the construction of the board meeting room in the center of that space on the first floor.
Why do you need something different than wildlife?
There are things in that building that need to be repaired. So why do we need a different color scheme than the wildlife? I don't have an answer for that other than that's, as your tenant is paying full market value, that's what we require. So
That's what you request.
And so, like we've talked about with Keith, if it takes it in stages, that's fine, I guess. But we just need to see some momentum making this building ready.
Would we be having this discussion if this were anybody but the sheriff's office?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the question.
Same thing with wildlife. We actually had increased costs from wildlife to outfit that building to their needs, to what they requested. So, I mean, if we want to increase the cost of the
If
sheriff,
you want to, okay, that's fine, and it's gonna take your office and other office, then giving them money to pass this increase along. We have a reserve in the Krause Center, correct?
Yes.
The purpose of that reserve is to make capital improvements, I assume.
At the board's direction, yes.
And a few of these things on this item, we won't even talk about the paint schemes at this point, right? But a few of these things, and it's no surprise that an ADA elevator would be talked about in relation to Krause. That's something that I've talked about, no matter who the tenant was, in order to be able to fully realize lease potential of that building, we were going to need to have an ADA elevator. So that shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone.
I think what the surprise would be the use of the second floor.
Sure. I think this is
not
headed
So what's the use?
to the basement.
That's,
But, I mean, it would seem to make sense that if we're going to install elevators, that there might be some economy of scale and go ahead and make the entire building accessible. That way, in the event some other tenant might approach us, we don't have to say, well, we'll get back to you and get an elevator in 3 years. And that's no reflection on you.
No, but that's right. Now's the time to do that. If you're going to do one elevator, you do all the elevators necessary. That's a good plan.
The generator is much the same.
I know that there's been some discussion with, I think between Keith Office and David Barnes on locating a generator. Maybe there's some grant funds available out there. Kind of how they shared.
Yeah, David, I was aware of some of those discussions. David's left us now.
And it's contemplated, again, that the generator provide backup electricity for the entire property. You know, we were operating on the statement here that was given by David Basin in November. It says the sheriff's office could begin moving immediately. That was prior to any lease agreement or any sum of money being discussed as far as rental is concerned. That was the premise that we were, at least the facilities was operating under. And surely paint, carpet cleaning, those kinds of things can be done. But when you look at an almost $53,000 figure prior to moving in, I think this board needs to make that determination.
Look, I am seeing patching and painting walls on the building make ready. Well, I'm just looking at from the November 7th document, 2019. It has item number 6 is patching and painting walls as far as building make ready. It's not quite the figure that we've come up with now, but.
So there's no cost attached, but it's a far cry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. There's not. I'm looking. It just
now coming back and saying they want something that they didn't let us know they were wanting.
It looks like everything that we already have costs associated for are on that make ready, building make ready spread, schedule, right? Generator, elevator, maybe except for the kitchen floor repair, but cleaning floors, cosmetic costs, that's what was $2,500. Right? I mean, so it looks like everything above that line was part of the building make ready that was identified back on November 7th. So what were those discussions were that was going to be done and you guys were going to move in with the desire, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And those discussions have been going on for quite some time. And the reality is, the longer that we're in this, prior to being able to get out of the detention center, the longer that takes away from the trust ability to start analyzing what they're going to need with their spatial availability.
the detention center. And so it's just, the window is rapidly closing.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Monroe would like to look at maybe some sort of staged approach to some of these repairs, and maybe that works for the elevator stuff, or even that kitchen floor thing. It's just, in a perfect world, obviously, you're cleaning the floors and painting everything prior in time to office equipment going in. But if we don't have that time, we've got to move. We've got to do something. And it's May 26th.
Joe, do you know, is the capital improvement, budget or fund or whatever, does it have enough money to do those things that are on this list here, or do you know?
They have to ask people what's available in PBA's A and PBA reserve, or B on the PBA crowd operating. I guess operating first.
It would be capital. Operating, Kraus has enough to get us through the end of the fiscal year. And capital does not anticipate these expenditures. It would be my estimate or guesstimate that we would transfer money from PBA reserve to where capital is needed for any of the PBA properties. So if it's determined you want to move ahead with a generator, for example, now that we have pricing for that, we can do so. We have pricing for all the other items as well. So
It looks like we're going to be turning back almost $5,000, some of the rent money that the budget board provided. So I don't know that money, how that money could then be transferred used towards some of these projects that are on this sheet, but the county will be receiving some of that money back.
the simple way to handle this is determine what capital items you want to accomplish, transfer the money from PBA reserve into crowd capital, and get started that way.
Keith, is there already an HVAC system for the basement, or is this something brand new that would be added?
This is new brand.
Brand new, okay.
And there is associated electrical work necessary for that.
Yeah.
Let's say the generator and elevators can be phased down. And the second floor and basement could be occupied later. I don't see if there is any impediment to you moving in now, other than you want different color schemes, you want somebody to vacuum. All right.
Like our landlord to repair the holes in the wall.
Okay, we can repair holes and we could do the painting to match those holes. I mean, I'm all for that. And I think in this patching and painting walls, I think that's what it complements, or, it refers to. If it was referred to complete color change, I would hope that we would address it appropriately in a document that was submitted to a board to say that we're going to want an entirely different color scheme, which is going to cost you $40,000 for us to move into. Nice. The other stuff here, you were forthcoming, you brought those into us, and fully understand that. You want an elevator on the east and south side. And I think we've always contemplated.
Let's be clear there. It's not the sheriff's office wants an elevator, they need an elevator. And I think where you were going is we've always contemplated elevators. So a notion or an assertion that it's the sheriff's office that's driving the elevator conversation.
Well, I was saying that we've always talked about that. We've always talked about an elevator, not two. But I think we've also talked about the difference of one normal elevator going from the bottom to the top versus a lift or whatever we call these things that we've got around here.
There's been a lot of discussion over the years about potential uses of that building. Wildlife took care of a portion of that for us when they were renting out the first floor. And it didn't necessitate the elevator at that time. But as you'll recall, we talked extensively with David Barnes about his desire to occupy space in the basement so that he could have a more secure location to operate some type of emergency operations center. And so that in and of itself would have necessitated an elevator. Now with the sheriff's office, and what I understand from Mr. Barnes is that there is a very good working relationship between his folks and the sheriff's office. That would seem to be more of a reality in the coming months, years. I don't know. We all know how long it takes at times for us to make decisions here. That we would see some type of cooperative arrangement there. Our own MIS department has talked about that being a place for facility, for data backup and storage. You know, for MIS to locate computer equipment out there, that's going to necessitate having AC in the basement. It's not as if all of these improvements are simply for the sheriff's department. And if some other tenant were to come to us and say, we need X, Y, and Z, and Miles, you're right, Wildlife, we built some of those costs in. But that was an outside entity. This is an entity within the county where when we're paying those funds, they stay within the county. So it's not like we're paying a premium to some type of private entity for lease, which some people wanted to do. It makes sense to invest in
I just
ourselves.
wanted to use existing property.
I didn't say it was. It makes sense to invest in ourselves. So keep $53,000 is what's needed. Is that what I'm hearing?
53 for
With
the labor.
If you look at the quote, sheet,
and drywall.
the 53 is the painting, drywall, and the kitchen floor repair.
And the rest of the aesthetics, yes.
Mr. Honeycutt.
Yes.
Can you live with the 53 items, those first 3 items in a phase? It seems impractical. We're going to get to it all at once, given that we've had a hard time getting to our painting. But
We can advantage ourselves here by painting only offices that are to be occupied first, and then address the public space. So we can accomplish this, and I think if we can stay ahead of you when you begin to move, we'll get you there.
What color is it now?
It's a taupe, kind of a light taupe, and they're asking for it, correct? Actually, kind of a beige, wildlife beige.
so you would need to move 55,000 from PBA reserve into PBA capital.
And I would begin to address at the same time the elevator issues and also the backup generator.
So just for clarification, the sheriff is requesting $53,000 to change a paint color.
That's not what that document says.
Okay, then you're asking for $38,000 and some change to change a paint color. Correct? So we got $37,940 for labor. We have an additional $8,000 for materials. Is that correct?
That's what Mr. Monroe's quote said.
So you're asking for over $40,000 to change colors in a building so you can move in.
Are the numbers different on your sheet?
No, just looking for clarification here. It's a yes or no question. Are you saying yes, you're looking for over $40,000 to change colors?
Say 400,000?
Over $40,000. Yes or no?
I believe that's what the quote that Mr. Monroe drafted for your review says.
And is the sheriff aware of this?
He's the
Sheriff
mayor.
A.D. Taylor knows about asking for $40,000 to change colors.
We want to keep tap dancing.
Okay.
You have to vote now.
No, it's just,
So this is another
it's
fine.
interesting. In the middle of an election year.
It is.
So
I'm going to make your motions, move forward.
once I can figure out what I need to do, I will. Thank you.
Good to have that permission.
I would like to consider maybe multiple motions. And maybe you'll be a yes, or maybe you'll be a no, or maybe you'll be one or the other, depending on how we break this out. Let me start with the generator. We are currently looking for grant funds for that. My concern is if we ask to move the money, we buy it, it might not be a reimbursable expense. If we can wait a little bit and let that grant process get a little bit further down the road to see where we might stand on that, we can come back and I'll make a motion at some point then to fund it if we're not going to get a grant. It doesn't look likely.
I had no anticipation that generator issue was going to come. I know that we're working.
With regard to the elevator, that's one elevator, correct? And we need
We need
one to service
access.
the second floor and one to service the basement.
That's correct.
Okay.
And those are the lift things.
So it's the air band. Yeah, you have Ransom list.
All right. So with regard to the elevators, where are we standing in PBA reserve?
PBA reserve has in excess of $5.5 million.
And that's not counting the exterior project against it.
No.
Okay. Are there other large outstanding projects that I can't remember at this point in time?
There are, and I can't remember what they are.
Debt
We've got the debt services contemplated. Also, we have the HVAC that's ongoing at Lincoln and the roof that's ongoing at Lincoln. So I should restate that $5 million figure. It may be some figure less than that because we just encumbered more of the roof out
Don't think it's enough.
A million,
there. Yeah,
approximately.
that's right.
Okay. All right. Danny, so we can get a handle on where the PBA is, the reserve is, because there are some large projects. I'd like to go ahead and try to get the elevators done, but I don't want to make a motion for $150,000 for elevators, not knowing exactly where we're at. I feel a little bit differently about the 53. So I would make a motion that we would recommend that we move 55,000 that way. Around somewhat around 55,000 from PBA reserve into the Kraus capital account in order to fund painting, drywall, and reconstruction and kitchen floor repairs at the Kraus building.
Take your motion.
Second. You second?
Yep.
Okay. Now, you want to vote that?
Do it?
You want to vote no?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'll take it.
Aye.
You surprised me.
Yeah, it's a great request.
What it is. Okay, anything else on that?
As far as an update is concerned, I've been asked last time to present you with some rental rate adjustment figures. This is pre-COVID. Downtown office space rents between $13 and $24 a square foot. Midtown is between $13 and $20 a square foot. ACOG out at Lincoln currently pays $13.50 a square foot. And I'd like you to make a recommendation that we level all of the rentals in the ICB and elsewhere at $13 a foot. Make that recommendation for every tenant in the ICB, Kraus, and Lincoln.
Just one question on that, and I agree we need to bring those rates closer. There are some spaces in ICB that have not received some type of improvement, and others that have. Should there be rates, perhaps two-tiered rates, or just the leveling?
I keep it simple and level rates. Those long-term tenants who've been there, I don't know that they want any remodeling done. They simply want to be left alone and reassured that they're not going to be evicted.
So what is this adjustment to the existing rates? What are we?
Rates range between $7 and $11.50 a square foot.
Okay.
And that would just, your goal would be then for all the lease renewals in the coming.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we need to make some, have some discussion about whether or not you want to make any changes to the lease rate at Lincoln for ACOG. The consumer price index delta was a little over 2% for the last year. I don't know if you want to do anything or not.
All right, so do we have a motion to make a recommendation on leveling the rates of rent in the Investors Capital Building at $13.50 per square foot? Is that correct? To the PBA for the upcoming year. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, gentlemen, you want to discuss Lincoln? Any thoughts on ACOG? Keith, in the past, what have we done there?
Really, we've not done anything out there.
When is the last time that there was a rate increase?
I believe when ACOG moved in.
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
If memory serves, Langston was at a fixed rate. Langston University was the occupied space. And then we moved Wildlife Department into Krause and established that $13.50 a foot at that location. And then did a like agreement and rate increase for ACOG when they moved into it.
What are they paying us?
13.
Would you say a 2% increase?
A little over 2%.
And that'll, if the PBA takes the recommendation of the $13.50, all of our rates would be equal.
That's
If we left ACOG alone for this year.
That's correct.
I kind of, for me, it seems to make sense that we would get everybody to that 13-foot level, 13.50 per square foot level, and then as the years progress, we would make adjustments to everyone across the board. That way we have just a standardized rate. I don't.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
But about.
That's a good point too. Yeah, it makes the building much more.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. Is there a motion to receive? I believe that was 6, right? Yeah. Is there a motion to receive the report on item 6?
So.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Citizens participation. Board comments?
None.
Nope.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.